Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and welcome to our favorite time of the week because we've got the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves right in front of me. Let's check them out.
You could probably skip this first one.
Why? What's the fun in that?
We could probably skip it.
Let's not. It's a big week because the Pocket Tango, my first production collaboration, did get its full official release earlier this week. I hope you got a chance to check out our interview with Igor that we did. That video was posted on Tuesday. We got to talk about the origins of this project and a little bit more about the knives. But I did want to show you today, because we didn't have them in that video, our exclusive red burlap micarta handles. We have brought that handle material onto the two standard blade shapes in addition to our exclusive sheep's foot blade shape that you've already seen. So here they are. These are going to be the same price as the base G10 or micarta models of either of these, so just under 170 bucks. And you've got your Nesmuck style blade and your...
Yes, reverse Tanto.
It says reverse Tanto on the website. My inspiration was old school lamb's foot blades, actually, but they are both now available right here in that cool handle material. Thomas is, of course, partial to this one because he's team reverse Tanto, and maybe subconsciously I made sure there was a blade shape in the lineup for him. But for me especially, like, I'm a Nesmuck fanboy, so this is so cool to see out and available now. Just under 3 inches on the blade and not too much longer of a handle. It's kind of a 3.5 to 4 finger handle, just depending on your hand size. The pinky will wrap around this upturned section right here. Lets you manipulate the tip of that blade with the pinky very easily. This is not designed to be a, end of the world, stuff hits the fan survival knife. It's supposed to be a replacement for just a basic pocket knife, without the moving parts and potential for failure that a folder can have. Fixed blades are where it's at, man. Magna cut steel as well, so it's tough and stainless in addition to holding an edge quite a long time. Stonewashed finish on these versions. You got a nice amount of grip from the burlap micarta handles here. Great shape to the handles, if I do say so myself. They lock into the hand and give you enough grip there to do a bit of work with it without it feeling skimpy. And then you can pinch up real nicely for finer jobs. So I'll pull out the one I'm carrying here actually for a moment to demonstrate the sheath. I'm a big fan of MKM's magnetic pocket sheath system, and that's what we're using here. It slips into your pocket. The flap holds it in place. The sheath is ambidextrous, so lefties and righties, no problem. And for some folks in the comments who are a little worried about the sheath coming out of the pocket when you go to extract the knife, when they first come out of the box, it may be a little bit stiff and the knife may be a little bit stiffer in there, but especially once they're broken in, they're super easy to pull out. And if they need a little help subconsciously, I don't even think about it when I'm doing it. I use a little bit of my index finger to just push off. It's easier than a Kydex sheath, quite honestly, where you're gonna have to pull your thumb in there and pop the Kydex hold on a thing. This, just a little bit of pressure from your finger and it'll pull right out, and then easy to put right back in the pocket when you're ready to do your next thing. And the magnet will even catch it on its way back into the pocket, so you know you're right on and you're not gonna stab your leg in the process of putting the knife back in your pocket.
Yes, keep your blood in your body.
The blood is better inside of you, almost exclusively, generally speaking. Donations are fine. Then you can put it inside of someone else. Sounds great, I love that. It sounds like something Joe Flowers would say.
Yeah, he's entered the chat.
Miss you, Joe. I'll see you soon at Blade Show. Check them out now. I really appreciate all the feedback everyone's been giving. I'll try not to hit people over the head with this knife too much. Everything else deserves a shot too, after all. But thank you, everyone, and available now. Next up, another batch of exclusives, this time from ProTech. Their PT Plus was released, I guess, last year. Yes. Timing.
Illusions.
Yes. CruWear blade steel, KnifeCenter exclusive on this model, and we're starting things out with these two variations, each coming in, I believe they're both at $250. Yes, they are. So we've got red aluminum handle with a black coated CruWear blade, and my personal favorite of these two, a green aluminum handle and the smoky gray DLC coating with gray hardware as well. This is a really cool finish that I am really appreciating more and more. It has a bit of the sheen coming through. It doesn't feel like a dull painted on finish. It still feels like metal, and I like that. Just over a 3-inch blade on these, nice and thin. Not a full flat grind, but certainly plenty thin enough of a grind to do daily slicing without feeling like it's too thick. It's not going to get in the way. Just a great little shape. ProTech action. Feels so good. Actually, this is really cool. If I do both of these, this just shows you how consistent their action is. If I hit both of the buttons at the same time, it's going to sound like one knife.
Just in stereo.
Just in stereo, which you may like. You may need to experience this knife in stereo on any given day. The PT Plus gives you a little bit more in the handle department than the original PT that ProTech did. Gives you 3.5 finger grip on the main section. For me, at least, my hands are slightly larger than average, but of course you can certainly choke up and get right behind the edge, and you've got a nice full gorilla grip on that knife when you need to push it a little bit harder. Very cool. Deep carry pocket clip as well, right side only, but it is embedded in the aluminum handle with flush head screws, just nicely executed all around. Check them out. Next up, we have the Send It from Blackhawk, an OTF, I believe their first OTF, coming in at $197, so a little bit less expensive than a lot of the OTFs that are out there. Comes with D2 blade steel instead of some of the more exotic stuff that might have cost a little bit more on this particular knife. 3 3/4 inches long on the blade, and you have that Tanto profile. All of the grinds are flat. You don't have a hollow grind here along the main section. That is still flat, and a flat ground swedge along the top. Nice aluminum chassis made out of black aluminum. Definitely plenty to hold on there. I mean, you can see, again, with my slightly larger than average hands, I can get behind the slider switch on the side and still have a full uninterrupted grip on that handle. Speaking of the slider switch, the action's great. Nothing at all out of the ordinary there. It is just a perfectly well-working, fast, hard-firing blade. Nice, nice, nice. Now, one of the things you don't get on this OTF that some other competitors might bring to the table is a glass breaker on the end. The flip side of that is it's going to be a little more comfortable right here. You do have a protruding pommel, and it comes to an apex, but not super sharp. So when it is in your pocket and you're fishing in around it, or you're going to actually grab the knife itself, it's not going to bug you quite as much when you go to pull it. And speaking of it being in the pocket, very wide pocket clip here to keep it nice and stable and out of the way until you're ready to go. And then the knife is indeed ready to go. Got another blacked out knife to show next. This actually dropped earlier today. A blacked out version of one of last year's most popular knives, the Benchmade Narrows. Coming in at a $540 price point. It's certainly not inexpensive, but what you get is a highly refined, highly slim, everyday carry titanium folder here. 3.43 inch blade. It is M390 steel, super thin, about a saber height flat grind, but on blade steel this thin, it might as well be a full flat grind if it were on a thicker knife. This is just going to be a very, very acute slicer built for everyday efficiency in basic cutting tasks. It's not something you're really going to want to put to hard use, and that's partly down to the blade, sure. I mean, M390 holds an edge really well, but it's not super tough. But really the main reason I personally wouldn't want to take this out in a quote-unquote hard use scenario is the handles. They are made for concealment and for lightweight carry, not a hand-filling grip that you're going to be able to work for hours on end. Check that out. Titanium, super thin. It's thinner than a Benchmade bug out and almost as light, even though you get more going on. 2.41 ounces for this whole package right here. You've got a deep carry pocket clip, which is reversible. Likewise, the Locking style works well for left or right-handed use. It is the axis lock. It is slightly different from most of the way their axis locks are constructed because of the slimness of the handles. The springs work a little bit differently, but it still feels like an axis lock. You do have a stepped ridge or a stepped button there as opposed to the normal bar. Slightly easier to actuate. It just feels good. There you go. Check out the Black Narrows now alongside the standard version. Next up, we have the James brand, the Kline, to talk about today. New version of this available here with a carbon fiber handle. The carbon fiber certainly gives this knife a different personality from the rugged G10s, or sorry, rugged Mocadas and G10s that were previously available, are still available on this lineup, but that were previously released. Again, this elevates it a bit, makes it feel a little more special. Price on this is $449. It is made in the USA. You can see that right there on the front of the blade, in fact. That blade itself is 3.4 inches long, and it is magna cut steel. And in a bit of a rarity on any powder metallurgy product out there, you've actually got a hollow grind on this blade as well, instead of a flat grind, which would be a little more commonplace, I would say. But that gets it nice and thin right behind the edge. Magna cut will last a long time on its edge holding department, but anything is going to need to be sharpened eventually. And the advantage of a hollow grind, of course, is as you sharpen it, there's in a sense a little bit more longevity to the blade versus a flat ground knife, because the edge doesn't get as thick as you sharpen up the blade as quickly. You know, the angle at the top is going to be a little more spread out, but that's a little less important for a lot of just daily cutting things. We've also got a crossbar lock on this, just like the Benchmade. We do have a reversible pocket clip here as well. Nice and deep carry in this case. Let's check out the action. It is quite nice. We're dealing with washers in the pivot here, no ball bearings, so a little more of that kind of smooth, buttery-like action as opposed to like marbles skating on glass that a ball bearing type of action can give you. Also a little bit less susceptible to extra dust and grit and that sort of thing as well. Check this one out too. Next up, we've got some Liong Ma designs. The first is the T1 Tanto 1 frame lock flipper right here. These start at $330 for carbon fiber handles, or you can get this titanium version for $360. There's also some inlaid versions. There's a burlap micarta inlay, carbon fiber inlay. Those go start at about $420 for the burlap, $430 for the carbon fiber. I really like this one though. I like the faux bolstered look and the milled swirly pattern on in lieu of an inlay on the front here. You don't have integral construction, but it is two-piece. Instead of open back spacers, you've got a closed back to the knife. Still have a lanyard point there. In addition, right there at the end. Frame lock, milled pocket clip with a ball bearing detent on the end, or not detent, pinch point. There's probably a more technical term for that. I always call it the pinch point.
The squeezer.
The squeezer. You can't call it the squeezer either. We have the frame lock, as mentioned. Closed up, it kind of reminds me a lot of like that executive style knife, even if this is a bit more burly, a bit more, slightly more overbuilt than most executive style knives. But like those styles of knives, the blade is completely disappeared into the handle. You've got a very kind of rectangular shape to the handle itself. The only thing sticking out to interrupt that is the flipper tab on the blade itself, and the flipper works great as well. Ball bearings in this particular pivot, compound grinds on this Tanto, and we do in fact have a hollow grind with a flat grind at the tip, M390 steel. So again, another powder metallurgy product with a hollow grind, which again, not as common as other options. Normally when you have a fuller like this, dual fullers especially, that can sometimes be used to flick the blade open, but even more commonly to pinch the blade open like a classic slip joint long pull. But again, in this case, not actually going to get to use that because of the profile when closed, but you get the visual interest of it as well. Hard use gentleman's knife. I think you could do a lot worse than thinking about something like this as your option. Fair number of pricier things so far. Let's bring the price points down, a little more affordable. From Liong Ma, we have his Eutektik brand as well, which we've just got a huge batch of inventory in as well. The first knife we'll look at is the Trinity flipper. And I'll show both here real quick. Both of these coming in at 85 bucks. You've also got the EFD. I just have two of the color variations. There are a bunch of different colors of G10 available with either stonewashed or black stonewashed blade finishes. Yes, you can get them in a much more pedestrian black handle, Jade G10, some other colors, but I decided to pick, or I wanted to pick some of the more interesting colored versions just because it helps break things up as we go through the video here. The Trinity, we'll start with that. Both of these have 14C28N Sandvik blade steel, good stuff. Won't hold an edge like a super steel, but it holds an edge quite well, and it is a very tough stainless steel as well. So very durable. That edge is gonna resist chipping very nicely. The handles are G10. You've got an inset deep carry pocket clip. The screws stick up just a little bit, not so much that it's gonna get in the way, I don't think though. And it is reversible, and you've got an inset liner lock. All of those details are gonna be the same on either of these knives. The Trinity is so named because you've got three opening methods, or three opening apparati on the blade. You've got a conventional flipper, a front or top style flipper, and a cutout in the blade. So you got your flipping, no problem. You got your front flipping, no problem even for me, who is sometimes less cooperative, or sometimes finds front flipping less cooperative.
Front flipper style.
I'm gonna try turning off my English and turning it back on again. Maybe it'll be better after it boots back up. And then you've got the blade cut out, so you can either thumb open it or everyone's favorite reverse flick sort of thing right there. 3.75 inches on the blade, if I haven't mentioned that already. You do have the finger choil there if you want to choke up, take advantage of the finer control that affords. Cutting edge on this about 3¼ inch. So you lose a fair big chunk of cutting edge in that given blade length, but the trade-off is that precision. Almost a full flat grind, nice and thin on the blade. Slice City, shall we say. Moving on to the EFD, which, what's that stand for actually? Do we not have it on here? We don't actually have what it stands for on the page here.
Extra folding device.
Extra folding device. Well, you had the Field Duty on his full-size designs, and this has a little bit of a resemblance to that. Maybe it's the Eutektik Field Duty, EFD? We're gonna go with that. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments if I am. Bullet points in this and the Trinity are pretty much the same. It's just a slightly different shape. I like the handle for my hands a little bit better on the EFD here. It fills things up just a little bit more nicely for me. Your mileage may vary. And the choke up feels pretty good as well. 3½ inches on this blade with a cutting edge just over 3 inches, about 3 1/8 in this case. And this is of course showing the stonewashed finish. You only have two apparatuses for opening this particular blade. No conventional flipper. It's just the front flip and the thumb cut out right there, or the blade cut out right there. As such, you don't have the flipper tab, taking away extra space here. It opens up a little bit of space for that forward grip position. But yeah, there you go. Again, nice and thin, nice and slicey on this blade, but a good amount of real estate to work with for sure. Next up, and this knife is quite a bargain for what you're getting, the Petrified Fish Terra, a liner locking folder with a 3½ inch D2 blade coming in at just $33. And in typical Petrified Fish fashion, it's put together way better than pretty much any other $33 knife out there. The blade, like I said, 3½ inches, very nicely done satin finish. The D2 steel is going to hold an edge a good long time. And check out this kind of like dual scoop here at the top, like a scooped fuller with compound grinds. You've got a deeper scoop here and a slightly shallower scoop here at the back. Mostly for aesthetics, I would say this back section is just doing a little bit of extra visual lifting there as opposed to actual friction relief there from the spine side. But apart from that, full flat grind, not too thick, great slicey shape, great shape for just about anything. Backup tactical work, it could certainly do that, even though this is not a quote-unquote tactical folder. Well, let's just get down to it. A drop point does just about anything. It can hunt, it can everyday utility stuff, it can do food prep, it could poke when you need to be poked, or if something else needs to be poked. Don't poke yourself with knives.
Do my taxes.
I won't do that, however.
Search continues.
But I might be able to write it off if I buy this as like a sample. So it could help with my taxes.
Increases the process.
But it could help reduce my taxable burden.
Right.
So there you go. If you have a way to write off your knife expenses, this could also reduce your taxable burden. So it does that too. Hey, how about that? The handle is G10. Like the Eutektiks, we do have a few different colors. And I really dig what they did with the handle here. Nice neutral shape. And it has that just kind of oval elliptical shape that will work with big hands and small hands, no problem. And the G10 is contoured very nicely, and it just feels wonderful in the hand. The pocket clip is right side only, tip up fashion, not quite deep carry, but it does have that folded over looped style. We've got a liner lock and ball bearings in the pivot with a flipper tab for your opening method. Works great, and then no thumb studs to get in the way of the cutting path either, and that cutting edge coming all the way back to the termination of the handle there at the front. So maximum use out of a very, very nicely priced folding knife. These next two Petrified fish knives are pushing a little further up market than their normal product fare, which is to say they're more expensive than this $32 knife we just looked at. They're still not all that expensive for what you're getting either. This is the Mocado liner lock. They start at $59, and this one right here is the most expensive version, coming in at $67. 3.5 inch blade. What do we want to call it? This is interesting. So yeah, it's a Tanto. Like let's be clear. Like we do have a definite transition point right here, even though it is very slight. And we have a typical Tanto-ish style clip here on the end, which can happen, but you don't get that chiselly leading edge that a Tanto normally provides. This is more just like a straight clip point blade in the way you're actually going to use it, even if we would classify it as a Tanto.
It's a tan point.
It's a compound tan point.
Clipto.
We can only make up so many words in any one given video. We gotta cool it here a little bit. Let's speak more about the blade. Call it a Tanto if you like. It's gonna behave more like a clip point blade in actual use. It is two-tone. It is K110, which is your name brand D2. It's made in Austria. The foundry that makes it's a Bowler-made steel. Very well respected for the precision that they bring to the table when they're making their materials. So you got that going for it as well. Oversized thumb studs, or at least slightly bigger feeling thumb studs than some out there. I really like the detailing on it as well. It's not just a plain thing. There's a little extra machine time going into that little piece right there. And then the G10 handles are two-tone in this case. You've got carbon fiber inlays front and back. The less expensive versions come with two-tone G10 going on instead of the fancier material right here. They've all got a milled pocket clip, however, and I believe this is titanium. Let's see, is it magnetic? I'm feeling a little bit of pull through it, but it's the liner. I have too much magnet to really tell. Yeah, I'm feeling pull from the liner, not the actual clip itself, which tells me the clip is indeed titanium. That's funny.
We'll clip it out.
That was funny, darn it. I don't care if Thomas isn't laughing. That amuses me. Shall we move on? Let's. We've got a lanyard point here at the back made of G10 as part of the small backspacer here at the back. Open construction otherwise, so it's real easy to blow out of debris if you need to. Fall shut action when you want it to. Ball bearings and pivot. It flippers quite nicely. Let's thumb it. Thumb studs work quite nicely as well. This next knife also has a quote-unquote name brand steel. This is the Rogue, a liner lock flipper with American-made 154 cm steel, coming in at $79. About 3.4 inches on the length, has a bit of that kind of Canadian belt knife style shape to it, which is a close cousin to the Nessmuck, so I approve of what's going on right there. The handles are G10, this kind of coral style pattern, bit of contouring to the shape, fairly secure filling in the hand as well, but it feels nimble too. It's not like a bulky handle. I would say, was the Mocado we just looked at, has a bit of a bulkier handle, so it feels like you can really hammer through some things with this, really have that platform to push. This one has that without feeling as chunky, without feeling as tanky. Get some agility back into the whole equation with this shape. Deep carry pocket clip, inset with flush head screws, right side only in this particular case. Let's check out the flipping action. Just as good as anything else we've looked at, which is to say quite good, in fact. Ball bearings in the pivot, nice detent, snappy action, thin enough blade steel with a high flat grind, Slice City as well. We found another resident of Slice City today. So there you go, you can check that out. It's kind of similar priced to, what were those Eutektiks priced at? About 85 bucks. With your Swedish steel, this is just under 80 with that 154 cm steel. Pretty interesting options right there. Check them out if you like. Next up, a couple of Kershaws. We've got new versions of the Static, the folding cleaver, compact folding cleaver, coming in with a sub 3-inch blade and D2 blade steel for about $40 right now. We have 4 versions actually. We've got a green micarta as well as a brown canvas micarta handle. Each one of those can be paired with either a stone-washed blade or a black stone-washed blade, black-washed blade, in fact. Always been a really cool little design. It's compact, but even if you don't use the finger choil for that extra grip length, you've got a 3.5 finger grip, or I have a 3.5 finger grip on this handle. That's a lot of power, a lot of feeling of power in that short blade length, however. Not too thick, full flat grind. It's still gonna slice really nicely, but you've got like the mass behind it to really feel confident in its use. And then when you wanna choke up for finer work, got a full 4-finger grip, or I do anyway, in that grip, and you can be a little more careful, do the small things with the blade. What else we got? We have a liner lock for security. We have a almost deep carry pocket clip, not inset, but we do have flush head screws there. It's still gonna be nice and easy in and out of the pocket. And this is a KVT ball bearing equipped knife, no assisted mechanism to kind of get in your way if you don't like that sort of thing. And you got that manual flipping action to go with it. Very nice. Next up, we've got a case knife, or several case knives to talk about, but only one on the table. This happens to be a standard trapper, coming in at about 80 bucks right now. You've got 2 blades, your long clip point and your long spay blade right there, or like
the classic pattern, I'd be comfortable with spay.
All right then. Yeah. Some may say that the 940 Osborne, the first knife to use the term reverse Tanto, should have just been called a spay blade.
No, that's a reverse.
Those people are me. This trapper is just one of several patterns newly available with a zebra wood handle cover, which is what we're talking about right here. Check out the striping on that wood right there. Very, very nice indeed. Made in America knife, lifetime warranty on these, of course, and true sharp stainless steel on all of these. I don't think any of these are the carbon steel. Let me check real quick, actually. I have that capability. I do have a website at my disposal right here. Yeah, they are all stainless steel. But standard trapper, mini copper lock, small Stockman, medium Texas toothpick, standard lockback, and large Stockman, all available now with the zebra wood. Very nice. All right, we started the video with some small fixed blades, and we're gonna wrap things up with some big fixed blades. First, from Tops, the Armado 6.5. I like it, ladies and gentlemen. $217 for this particular knife. Made in Idaho, of course. This is a Josh Navarrete design. Let's talk about the blade. 6.5 does indeed refer to the blade length, 6.5 inches in length right there, 1095 carbon steel. It is thick enough to take a beating, but the height of the grind, like the width of the blade combined with the height of the flat grind here, means it's still going to be a pretty darn efficient slicer without giving up too much of that brute force strength that Tops is famous for, rightfully famous for. Got almost a full length swedge as well, removing a bit more drag from the spine, keeping the whole thing at a more kind of slicey convention going on. You can choke back a little bit on this. I'd say if this was like your one tool option survival knife, it wouldn't be that bad of an option for you. You could do a lot with this knife, in fact. Choke back a little bit. You could do some short machete work if you were needing to clear just a little bit of small branches or vegetation or that sort of thing. It could do that. Could be a pretty decent food prepper as well, thanks to that drop. I'm getting ideas. It's bad when I start getting ideas of things I would do to a knife. I'm never afraid to mod a knife if I don't want. Part of me wonders what would happen if I removed that finger guard, brought it down a little bit more subtle, and then I could do like cutting board stuff. Unpredictable, aren't I? Handles are Mocado with red liners right there. As you can see, the blade thickness, we're about 3/16 of an inch, I would say. What are we measuring here? 0.19, yep. So with the coating, without the coating, it'd probably be that 1.875, which is 3/16 of an inch. You are correct, Thomas. There you go. Handle feels pretty good. It's got a little bit of shape to it, not too much, but the edges are rounded over nicely enough that it doesn't feel too blocky. Definitely some protection from it sliding forward if you are swinging this in a more slashy fashion, thanks to that prominent beak there at the front. But still, even if I were wearing a pair of work gloves, I would have enough room on this particular handle. The sheath is Kydex. Comes with the whistle, as Topses often do. Comes with a snap loop on top, snap loop attached to the D-ring dangler right here, so it's easy to take on and off your belt when you want to without having to remove the entire belt. And this will, of course, pivot as well to help it sit right where you want it. And then most Tops knives will be Tech-Lock compatible. Let's just check. Most Tops knives, sheaths, I should say. This one is not actually. Let's check a small Tech-Lock. Let's see if that throws up. Yeah, if you wanted to, you could attach a small Tech-Lock to this, no problem, and attach it to your belt that way as well. The Armado 6.5. And last but not least, we did also just get in a big batch of Dawson fixed blades. Here is just one of them. And it just happens to be the one that caught my eye the most of the recent batch. This is called the Wilderness. Comes in at 310 bucks, and we've got a 3V blade right here to keep things nice and tough without losing that edge retention. Not a stainless steel, however, so keep that in mind if you're interested. And again, a hollow grind on a powder metallurgy product. Maybe a bit of a trend starting to develop. Maybe we'll see more of this in the near future. I don't know. Stick around. What I like about this knife is it is a great little size. It's about 4.5 inches on the length. It's a pretty cool shape. Can do just about anything. You've got the straight clip point here. Reminds me a little bit of like a pilot's survival knife, like that the old Ontario stacked leather models, but of course much more elevated than that. Hint of recurve to the hand or the blade edge itself, give you a little bit more sharpened edge in the given length, but not so aggressive that it's going to be too difficult to sharpen. Again, hollow grind, thin enough blade. You're going to have a scary thin edge going on there, which is why 3V is a great choice here to keep things nice and tough if you're taking this out and maybe abusing this a little more than you should. You still have that slicing going on. G10 handles, multicolored with some contouring and some scalloping going on. Nothing that feels like it's going to raise too much of a hot spot, however. It feels pretty comfy. Maybe I might knock that off just a little bit. Again, always wanted to change things. Prying protruding pommel or protruding tang there at the back. You can see it narrows down. It's not sharp, but you could use that as a little impromptu pry tool if you needed to. If you were using it to bash on some things, maybe you got to open up a coconut, for example. That would do a great job of concentrating all your force and making your effort, requiring less effort to get the job done when you want to get the job done. But anyway, several different models available now. Let me just check to see what all the blade steel's available right now. We got some 3V and some Magna Cut you could take a look at. We got some magnet cut swords from Dawson still in stock. Those are always fun. And the sheath. Here we go. Kydex with the carbon fiber style look to it. Comes equipped with a standard belt pass-through right jaw. And if you want to do something else, let's just check it real quick. Not large Tek-Lock compatible. Yes to small Tek-Lock compatibility. Interesting. Both of these last two, small compatible as opposed to large. That's it. That's all we have for this particular episode. A few things. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. And if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, check out the links in the description. If you follow those, they'll take you to KnifeCenter.com. And while you're over there, do not forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program, because the least we can do when you buy one of our knives today is give you some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. We're signing off. See you next time.